Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Shawn, and guess what? It is double the Shawn, double the fun, and both of us know how to spell our name as Shawn and not Seen. And the crazier part is I can't play music. He can play music. We're like the yin and the yang today. I don't have a hat on. He has a hat on. I have a beard. He doesn't have a beard. This is an entire thing. The universe could end at any moment. So joining us, he's not there now. I'm not going to say where he's at, but he is on the left coast, and we salvage him for that. But he is in one of the two states that I haven't been to. So joining us from the Oregon area. Oregon area. That should be good. Joining us from the Oregon area, singer-songwriter Shawn Brown.
Hello.
What's up, brother?
Dude. Happy to be here.
Now that you said, I just realized you mentioned the whole Seattle thing. Yeah. You did the Seattle beanie. Do the Seattle beanie thing.
Yeah. Fully.
Do you have like a full head of hair underneath there though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, that's so the Seattle beanie thing. Like you wear the beanie everywhere you go, but you still have the full head of hair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's legitimately cold where I'm at, so I'm at the very least it's like coming by it honestly today.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had a little bit of snow here where I'm at yesterday in the up in the Albany region, but we'll get into all that and your weather forecast here at any moment. What's up, Chad? Already joining us. Folks, go follow Chad. He talks comic books. I talk comic books. He's amazing. Chad, check out my background. I finally put these things up. Look at what that is. That is first appearance of Ultron, Death of Elektra, and just an amazing Walking Dead cover. Oh, Cody's already joining us. Hi, friends. Big hugs and grateful hearts that you're in my life. Cody, you are amazing. We'll talk about getting the elephants to hook up. You can put that on there again. It's a whole thing, Shawn. Like
okay,
8-year drought for elephants that need to hook up in the Serengeti somewhere.
Noted.
Before we get too far, folks, and we get lost, Chad, I've said that 100 times. We should do this. I should tell you, I'll tell you about all the CGC books that I just got back, and I got 3 more coming. But before we get too far into all these things, as always, over my right shoulder, we got the big board for Sticker and a Cause. Maybe you're a musician, you've got a band, you've got a podcast, you're like Cody, you've got a podcast, you've got your joy retreats, you're doing all these different things that you've got going on, or you're like Chad, podcasting and on Facebook, but you got a sticker and you want people to know about it. Well, you reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. It's not Twitter anymore. X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even our email is the Above the Bar podcast. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. I'll give you the address. You send me the sticker. Do you have any stickers, Shawn?
I mean, there's some stickers around. I can grab
a sticker.
Sure.
And then we throw that sticker up on the big board. That way everybody can know what you've got going on. It doesn't cost you anything other than a stamp and a moment of your time to send me an email. So again, folks, that's Sticker and a Cause. And I've never mentioned this, but eventually I'd like to get this thing so full that once it's completely full, maybe we'll auction it off for charity or something like that. Maybe we'll have to think about that. Also, folks, look, now Chad, Shawn, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. You're out there. It's a little cold where you're at. Do you have drafty windows?
I mean, they could use some love.
They could use a little TLC.
Yeah.
Well, look, I actually know the folks who own budget blinds of the Oregon coast, and this is a definite one for you. Crazy Aunt Rose joining us. This is a good one for Clay there, Aunt Rose. We're talking music, but we have the folks out there, Budget Blinds of East Greenbush and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York. They're getting ready to start their next big sale for the month of December. It's going to be 30% off of all motorization. And if you're looking for something that's pretty impressive, is when you can sit there during the holidays or post holidays and you know you got that hangover, it's all hitting you and you can hit that button and just close that window. You don't even have to get up for it, and it just closes for you. And I asked about Shawn and insulation. They carry honeycomb shades. One of the big things people don't know is as of this year, there's 2 different manufacturers, and they carry both of them, Hunter Douglas and Custom Brands Group, that they actually can get you up to $1,200 in energy efficiency credit on your taxes just by buying shades. Think about that, folks. You get the little beautification. I don't know if that's right. You get to beautify, maybe. I don't know. You get to make your house look a little bit better, add a little style to your home, add a little value to your home, and get to motorize things. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, New York. Tell them you're there to belly up the bar, and they're going to take good care of you. All right, real quick here, Shawn. So Cody says, haha, thank you, Shawn Murphy. Here is the link to supporting a specific special group of elephants that I will be meeting in person and checking on in April of 2024.
Nice.
Speaks. We plant joy. It's like these elephants that like got separated like 8 years ago, and they haven't had any loving since then. Which I don't know what elephants do when they don't get any loving.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know. Have you ever?
Doesn't sound good. Whatever it is, it doesn't sound.
Completely sidebar. Have you ever seen a male elephant at the zoo?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I ever tracked
one time
gender.
One time.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a thing. Make you feel like less of a person, but it was a thing.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm going to say, folks.
Noted.
But Shawn, so I appreciate you coming out. This is a long time coming.
Yeah,
finally get this opportunity to sit and talk to you. You've got your new song, and I almost jacked the entire name of it up earlier. Road of Bones. Road of Bones. And initially, I was thinking about that song, Road and Bones. I mean,
yeah.
But and look, Aunt Rose, we know it. You just got back from Kenya and learned a ton about elephants. Crazy Aunt Rose. Shawn, I could start a band for you. So her son is like this amazing drummer named Clay, K-L. Aunt Rose, I know I'm spelling it wrong. K-L-A-I, I think is how it is. And then we could get you a second drummer, which is my buddy who's the current drummer for Black Flag.
Yeah, nice.
We can get you hooked. So I mean, and then and we got the guys from what the heck's God, I'm having a brain fart, but we get you punk rock band, all kinds of stuff, man. We get you.
Great.
But you don't need any of that because you've got your own song out. So let's play the song. I want to get into like how your writing process, how you got into music and all those things. But folks, we're going to the debut on this show. It's not the debut anywhere, but it's the debut here. Shawn Brown's Road of Bones.
Dressing up, feeling dumb. I hope this don't last all night long. You ain't looking over here. I thought it was such a good idea heading down to the punk rock show, and now we're just bad radio. Don't you know I'm reaching out? The world gone crazy, don't read my mind.
Shawn, I jammed to it about 5 times the first time I heard the song. And I have to tell you, now I don't know. I'm curious who people, we all do this for whatever the reason is. You sound really like, and very much like, but you know what it reminded me of? A very Train vibe.
Yeah.
Do you get that often, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my story is long and arduous, but it was one of the first national tours I was ever on. Was a Train tour.
Really?
I was telling you before we jumped on, I've lived in the Bay Area a long time, and they're sort of Bay Area stalwarts. So we were running in the same circles back in the early aughts.
See what Cody says. You spell your name correctly. That's the only reason you're on the show.
That's right. That is true. I've been told that.
Aunt Rose said. So they were actually a legit influence then on you and your music.
Yeah, I don't know if they were like any kind of direct line, but I think there was certainly when I was coming up in the early days, there was this Bay Area thing that was very like Counting Crows were in Berkeley, and they were sort of coming out of Berkeley. There was sort of this organic, acoustic-y, cool, like soul thing that was happening that So like in that general sense, I would say, sure, it would be, you could put on Train records and put on my records and go, there's pretty relative scenarios here. But I don't know if I ever was like, I mean, one, nobody can sing like Pat Monahan. So
now he's definitely got a, well,
that dude's got pipes. Yeah.
Well, you know what though? You bring up a great point, because initially my first thought hearing you was a very much a, I heard Counting Crows, and now you throw out Train and thinking about them all being, all of you guys in that same area. So during that time frame, that was an initial, that was the sound. That was the sound of the Bay Area.
There was a real thing happening in those days, and it was kind of in the water. The Stephen Jenkins and Third Eye Blind were around, like, too. They were sort of in this, it's kind of weird to think about now, but like this was all the same pool of people. So it was a scene there for a sec, and then, you know, everybody gets picked off and signed, and then no one's around anymore. But there was a thing. There was sort of this move towards sort of acoustic-y, organic, but very like pop friendly, radio friendly music. There was a lot of us were doing it in those days. That's for sure.
So now when you say those days, to me, that's 93, 94. When did you really, you know?
Yeah.
When would you say, you know, we always hear the stories of, so I used to sing back in church and I was in the choir. I've always had a voice. But really, when would you say, like, you were kind of like, 9 to 5 is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah. I was signed the first time in the year 2000.
Okay.
So I would have been working pretty hard, you know, 98, 99, like, you know, getting going ahead of sort of getting signed that first time, and then having a release. My first release was in 2000. So, so right around that. Yeah.
What was the first song that was released?
Oh, the very first one was a song called Get in Line. And it was off my very first release was called the Bootney Lee EP. You cannot find it anywhere. It's not streaming. It might be on YouTube. I haven't looked, because it was and it was always this running joke that we had, because I never expected to get signed, but I had this bet with my buddies that, like, if I ever did, I'm going to call it the Bootney Lee EP, and no one's going to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, because I have no idea what that is. But it sounds good.
So I'm relatively sure it's on Dr. Dre The Chronic. Do you remember Dr. Dre The Chronic? There's the skits. There's like the skits in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's like there's the one about the swap meet.
Yes.
And Bootney Lee Farnsworth is like name checked in the skit. Like, and it always just like, so it became like a running joke with a bunch of buddies. Just anyway, that like name, just, I don't know why it's stuck in our head.
That's so great. But you know what, you bring up a great point, that we come from a generation of music where you might have been listening growing up to Counting Crows, Nirvana, the Dre and the Chronic, Eazy-E, straight out, or NWA, straight out of Compton. Those were probably all in your car at the exact same time.
Yeah.
There was no like, I'm Swifty, I'm a we didn't have that. We just were like, dude, that shit sounds cool. What was the guys? I mean, we just heard it all, and we just kind of ate it all up. Yeah.
Well, it was a different thing too. One, this is like one of those like pivots where we go down the road and we go forever. But there is something to be said about kind of the meta, like the sort of meta general verse that like everyone was living in the one thing, right? Like you listen to the same handful of radio stations, you watch the same TV shows because there's 4 channels. Whatever was on MTV was like the thing that everybody knew, and that was it. That was like your main video consuming, and so that was the norm then for us. Would have been like, well, whatever, I don't know, Snoop Dogg's coming on after Nirvana, which is coming on after the Pixies, which is coming on after the Replacements, which is coming on after Genesis. I mean, it was nuts back then, like you, and it was just normal for us.
You had to discover we had to discover music.
That was the best part.
You went to, for me being in Baltimore, you went to Soundgarden,
Yeah,
or you
yeah,
went to Record and Tape Trader,
yeah.
were the 2 locations in Baltimore, and you had to physically go there.
You could go
And
dig.
they would have a CD or something sitting at the counter that said new music release,
Yeah.
or you had to go, hey, like the true music geek, the guy who was like, let me explain this to you. Do you not understand?
Yeah.
Like, and
That dude always knew what he was talking about too, by the way.
knew it all.
That guy always nailed it. Yeah.
And they would tell you to go listen to them. But what's happening on this Black Friday?
Well, record store day.
It's record store day.
Yeah.
Just curious, and not putting you on the spot. You going to be playing anywhere? You going anywhere? You got a spot for that?
No. We decided not to do anything for the whole holidays. I have one big show in Portland left on the 3rd. But that's like the last playing. But I'm thinking about going and getting in line.
I mean, it's worth it. Like my wife asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I wanted an old school, stack stereo system.
Oh yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I miss loading 100 CDs into a player.
Just changer.
And hitting shuffle.
I know. Magic.
It was different. Like, it wasn't like, I like Pandora. Like, I get to hear what I want to hear, but it's just not the same.
Dude, the stakes were high. This is what I always say about those years, right? The stakes were high because like throwing down $14 on a CD or whatever was
a gamble.
It was a huge deal. You're like, okay, is it going to be this one or is it going to be that one? There's a huge choice. And sometimes you got it wrong. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you walked out of there and you threw that thing on. You're like, well, I'm stuck with it. I gotta go deep with whatever the thing was.
And how much do you love the hidden track though? How much? The hidden track. Yeah. Like the 90s, like you would play that last song, and if that CD went to 16,
oh yeah, just keep going.
You're like, there's a fucking hidden track. Yeah. There's a track. I know it's in.
And sometimes it was like track 79 or whatever.
Right.
It's just
like Nirvana was notorious for track 99.
Oh yeah.
Here's a real throwback for you. 9 Inch Nails.
Yep.
Halos. Do you remember 9 Inch Nails Halos?
Yeah.
That was their, they would come out with a CD and it would only have like 2 or 3 tracks on it, like an A-side, B-side type thing, but they would call them Halos, and people would be like, did you hear 9 Inch Nails dropped a new Halo? And people would go nuts for those things.
Yeah.
Cody says, my dad got all his old DJ stuff and CDs in their garage. Come in over, go nuts loading the CDs. Cody, I'm telling you, those were like,
it was big. It was big. Like,
but
that's why you had to go and you had to dig and you had to listen to the dude behind the counter.
Oh, he knew it.
Oh yeah, that guy nailed it.
And that was the gamble. Like, man, I'm about to jump for, like, I love this one song we're playing.
Yeah.
One. Well, I love the whole thing. And then, but then there were some gems out there that like you would get that, because I don't think artists, like, I don't know. I'll ask this question as an artist, and we're going to get into, and look, folks, if you want to know what Shawn's got going on, it's Shawn spelled the proper way, SHAWN, brownmusic.com. You can see everything you got going on. He's got his library on there. He's got his events and things that are happening. But and we're going to get into your writing process, because I'm always curious of how writers' processes work. But what were some of, for you? Do you remember anything that like you picked up that you were like, oh my God, I got this one before anybody else knew who they were? Did you have anybody like that?
Yeah. I mean, I had like the cool artsy big brother who had like cool artsy rocker friends. And we lived in Seattle.
Okay. Yeah. So you're there.
No, I mean, like we moved. I mean, this is the bummer. We moved in 1990 to Boise, Idaho, which is awesome. Like it was all cool, but like
the
timing was rough.
Oh.
To be fair, in middle school, my big brother was sneaking me in to the clubs. I would blow your mind with this.
I can't even imagine what the club scene.
Dude, I mean, people people talk a lot about, it's like there's sort of this legendary thing about Seattle in the late 80s and the early 90s, but like really it was super small, and you could go in, like my brother would like kick the side door open and you'd like sneak in the showbox or wherever, and you literally, it's like, well, the bill is Screaming Trees, Soundgarden, and Tad or whatever, and there's 30 people in the show, and they're all in the other bands.
You
But
ready?
like that's really what it was. It was this really small, cool thing. So you were tracking the bands, like if you're paying attention, you were tracking all that stuff. So especially when we then moved and I was in Boise, I was ahead of the.
Like you were ahead of it, way ahead of the curve.
Well, the big tidal wave that happened, it was like, no, I knew
that guy.
I knew all the bands. Yeah. Well, at least I'd seen them. But I knew, like I saw Mookie Blaylock play a show. Like, and many people say they were there and like saw Mookie Blaylock, but like we were actually there. Like
you were there.
Pearl Jam. Yeah. And like they were still Mookie Blaylock and they didn't sound great or whatever, but like
before they were playing malls, before the mall video popped out.
Yeah,
they're like in the Sam Goody in a mall, like playing
warehouse.
Oh, so see, like to me, brother, that is, and I never got to go. Like being in Baltimore, it was Hammerjacks.
Yeah, who would have been, right? Yeah,
like, everybody would show up at Hammerjacks or Steel Town. Like that was how we graded. Did you make it?
Yeah.
You're playing Hammerjacks.
Yeah, that was the line.
You're playing like the East Coast live venue, which it's gone now, folks. If you want to go look up Hammerjacks, you will find a place that fucking legends were built
right
at.
On. Yeah.
For me, the one was, I can still remember 9th grade. Matt Hall sat next to me. Still talked about. He's a light and sound guy now. Matt Hall sat next to me, and I was like, dude, did you hear this song on MTV? I think remember, this is 1990. I think it's a war protest song, but the band is badass. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know. They keep going, Bloody Nile, Bloody. And folks, that was Nirvana singing No Denial and in Smells Like Teen Spirit. But I can still remember watching that video premiere and then being like, this is a world premiere video, Nirvana, and thinking like, my life is different.
Yeah.
My life is so different now.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing. But now, so you're in this world. You've got sounds like you got a great brother who's introducing you to music, letting you go like, hey man, this is our world right now. Before we know, we're gonna become potato farmers in Idaho. I've
never seen a potato field, by the way. Never.
What?
I've never seen one. It's not really what it's like.
No.
I mean, I'm sure they're there, but I just have never seen one.
No. I mean, that kind of ruins things for me.
I know, man. I mean, I like a potato. I like a French fry as much as the next guy.
A good russet. I never actually russet. Like a good russet, like everybody.
Oh yeah, totally do. Yeah.
But you've got all this. So where did you like your first songs that you're writing?
Yeah.
And creating your process? How did you start off creating your love it? Josh says redefining Idaho stereotype. Love it.
Yeah.
Josh, I'm telling you, he's changing world now.
That's right.
But so how did you create your writing process? And do you ever look at it? And let me ask this, it's a follow-up to it, is it the same process today as it was when you started, or how did it evolve?
Yeah, it's a good question. At first I just wanted so badly to do something. Like I just wanted to do music. I wasn't, I mean, my angle is always been a songwriter. And from the very beginning, it was about songs and about songwriting. And I would learn a chord a week, and then on the guitar, and then like try like, all right, I'm gonna do a new song. Like, cool. There's a whole another thing I can do because I now know another chord, and so I can integrate that into the other three that I know. So now there can be four. I just wanted to generate tunes, and that was it. That was the beginning, middle, and end of my whole process. Was just I just want to make stuff. So I think that headspace has always been the case, just as far as the way that I view whatever our potential as creative humans. Just like keep making stuff, whatever it is, just
keep
go.
doing it. Eventually you'll get to it.
Yeah. And so it was a blind stab in the dark at first, that has changed drastically over time. I mean, I literally, my career's been sort of broken into these big chapters, but there was a middle chapter where I had come off of my artist deals and just became signed publishing deals in Nashville and became a full songwriter, like in publishing the way they do it in Nashville, which is like insane. The way like what that really is, people would just be stunned as to like what that process is. But I spent a chunk of time writing songs for other people, co-writing with people, just writing. And then later on, sort of circling back around to sort of my own songs and sort of being an artist again and sort of putting out records and things. But so as you can imagine, like my process has been all different things. Always was changing. And then, there's a version of it that exists now that's hopefully informed by all that experience, but super different than the beginning, which was like, I don't know, I'm just trying to put some words together, and probably emulate, there's a lot of emulating, favorite songwriters or favorite artists that you're always doing that at the beginning. Like, I'm just trying to sound like so-and-so, or if I play it like this, it's kind of like so-and-so. And if I kind of copy them, or at least start off of copying them, then maybe that can grow into something a little bit more unique. But I mean, everybody's copying somebody.
Oh, look, I'm a firm believer that the last original idea was the wheel. We've all just
yeah.
It stopped right there. We're all just stealing shit past there. But
yeah.
So in that process, and it's interesting you brought up the Nashville piece, because it really, you hear it in different genres more than others. But I think that Nashville music scene has the most, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It seems that when you start to talk to people, there's more ghost writers, there's more people that are out there doing that heavy writing for these artists that get their name out.
Oh yeah.
And that guy didn't do shit.
No. Most of the time they're not. I mean, they're also not, it's not like people are trying to like pawn off like they did write the songs. Like it's not, that doesn't happen very often.
You just don't talk about it.
Nobody's on that.
I'm not going to tell you I wrote it. I'm just not going to tell you I didn't either.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, unless you're Taylor Swift or somebody, it's obviously right. They're writing all around. Yep. But in Nashville specifically, it's a songwriter town, and the songwriters, you've never heard of any of them, but they've written all the things. And like, I seriously, like on the way it works there is you have a publishing deal, which is like it ends up being like a 9-to-5 job. And you essentially have your time booked throughout your day, in these pockets, these co-write pockets, sort of like any other job where you're like, all right, I got an appointment. And it's a 3-hour block of co-write with so-and-so, which, to most people, that's like, all right, okay, I can kind of see that. What people don't know is on top of that, typically you are given a brief. So you're given essentially, okay, so you and I got to co-write. Sean and Sean are co-writing. We're gonna sit down. We got this thing, and we get a brief, and the brief is a mid-tempo song that's 3.5 minutes long that involves a truck in the summer. Go. And you're like, all
right, let me think about this one.
All right,
well, I'm riding down the road in my favorite pickup truck.
So it is so it's all formula. Like, and that's really how it's done.
Really?
Like, that's how it works. So it's a formula. They're giving, they typically are giving the formula to the like handful of songwriters, and the same formula, right?
Right.
And then what ends up happening is there's then a big pool of songs that are coming from the same prompt. It's like a prompt in creative writing class or whatever. Like, write a thing about a pond.
Wow.
And then though, that body of songs gets delivered to whatever label is pooling songs for whoever's album, right? So then Blake Shelton goes, all right, like then the artist team gets involved with like, okay, where's all the truck songs?
Really?
Or whatever.
This is absolutely mind-boggling.
This is that's that. So it can be highly formula, which is really impressive. Like the songwriters that make long careers just doing that are magicians. But it's like a creativity in like solving problems. Like it's like songwriting for country music is a little bit different. It's like you're moving pieces around like with a math problem, trying to figure out like, right, the truck's not here, the truck's over here, and then the beer goes here, and this like you're like which is different than like sitting down with somebody and being like, I had this thing on my mind, or this thing happened to me that I've been doing a lot of thinking about, and I think there's a song here, and we sort of start from a sort of thoughtful, emotional prompt, like just between us, right? That's not really how it's done in the kind of big ticket Nashville machine. It's a lot of formula there, and people do it really, really well, and they are, again, the other thing people don't always realize about songwriting is like, if you wrote it, you get paid.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, though. So even though in those situations where you said, it's a 9 to 5, we sit down, we write, you give me the formula, and I love the idea that it's a process-driven thing, that it's we're just cranking these out as a process-driven. So you mentioned Blake Shelton, he's with Gwen Stefani. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a wild one, right?
That's a weird one, but fine. BANNA. It's all I can think of, and the naked drummer, because the drummer was always naked.
Yeah,
back to the
guy's name was Adrian
something, but I just remember he was always naked.
Yeah, that was his name. Yeah.
But so, how does, and I, getting behind the curtain here for a minute. So, Shawn Brown's song gets picked.
Yep.
Are you getting points off of this? Do you have to negotiate that beforehand?
No.
Or is it like a set process? Like,
hey,
folks, you don't know what points are a percentage off of.
I mean, it sort of starts the other way. It starts with like, you own all of it. Like, if you wrote it, you own it.
Okay.
And then there might be some negotiation that then happens where you negotiate some of your points away, like because essentially, like, you own all the points. Like, they're not anybody else's points but mine.
Gotcha.
If you wrote it, it's you, right? And so you are exclusively making all the money. Artist is making $0. The artist that's singing your song that you wrote, they're making $0 off the song.
Okay.
Now, they're huge concerts. There's a lot of other line items in the finances that they're making
good.
All kinds of money. But like, as far as like the song that's on the radio that's getting spun or whatever, that is the songwriter's money. 100%. Whoever wrote it is making that. Now, you might along the way, and this happens often, and happened to me multiple times, where you once you get in, like, you're going to make somebody's album, like, because that's the whole thing. It's like you're just trying to make a cut. You're trying to make an album. Just track 11 on whoever's at, like you're just trying to make it, right?
I'm there.
Yeah, you're just trying to get a spot, right? And then once that happens, that sets in motion oftentimes a bit of a negotiation around opportunities for the next album. And so you might give, there's ways in which you start to give some of your points away for like future consideration. But there's a lot of things that happen.
That's your negotiation power is your
That's
point
it. Yeah. That. Yeah. And so, you don't you don't always end up keeping your end. And there's also, you mentioned the ghostwriting thing, and this was very much me, where if you go that route, you vanish. So if you go the ghostwriter route, you essentially you get paid out. Like you get like written a check.
Okay.
And you're gone. Like, and so it's like, it's all legal, but like you're essentially like paid out in advance. And then you vanish from the credits.
Oh,
so
do your points go away at that point?
Yeah, you walk with whatever that check was, and then you're it's cool. Like everybody's trying to make a living, but like then that song is a huge hit or whatever. It's like that's what the kind of stuff drives you crazy. Because you're now not, you gave it all up, right? You took your money up front, and then it happens often. There's also guys that will come in and not just guys, but
I understand.
Fabulous women do this.
It's a general tone, folks.
Yeah, everybody.
We're not saying anything sexist. I refer to my daughters and my sons all in the same things. They say, "Hey, look, guys."
Yeah, guys. Yeah. There's wildly talented people of all genders doing this, but you also can have this role that no one even knows about. That's like you're not even a ghostwriter, but you kind of come in and like smooth out the thing.
Okay, like take the rough
fresh ears. Like fresh ears, you come in, you're sort of kind of like what a producer does, is like been doing the whole time through the whole recording process, but you kind of come in like the 7th inning and you like give it a fresh, like
you're the closer.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. And you're like, man, I don't know. You have some new ideas. Something might stick out to you. And you kind of come in and close, and then you just try to get paid out for that. Like, that's just there's like a standard,
like just a fee. That's like,
more
like an hourly fee.
You sort of get, you sort of get dished on that. And you got, there's no points or anything like that if you're so there's a lot of times there's a lot of like cooks in the kitchen.
I had no idea. So bringing that back to, though, Road of Bones and this new album, and I saw some of the names of people you've worked with and wrote with. I mean, incredible names. I mean, don't be afraid to name drop. I appreciate it. Don't be afraid to name drop. I appreciate it. Please send them my contact information.
Yeah, for sure.
So, moving into Road of Bones, you leave that whole Nashville scene. You're back on the left coast.
Yeah.
You're now in Keeping It Weird in Portlandia.
That's right.
All those things. And I've talked to some folks. They said it's not far off. Like Portlandia is not far off. It's
so great. It's great.
I love it. I see. I'm that guy.
It's so good.
I'm completely I'm the guy that they look at and they go, white guy with a beard, 20 years in the Marine Corps. We hate you. I'm like, I love you guys.
Yeah,
I like your shit. You have no idea who I am. They're like, you're supposed to not like us and be anti everything we are. Like, you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
You don't know this guy.
Yeah, right.
But so now you're out there. What prompted Road of Bones and for you to say, hey, you know what? I'm going back out. I'm going to start this all over again. And get at it again.
Yeah, it's been a really cool organic thing because essentially right before the pandemic gets rolling and we go, the lockdown March, the kind of March, St. Patrick's Day line in the sand, that happened. Right. I had that winter. I was living in the Bay Area still. I had like started to play shows again. So I had like kind of I always had this really awesome trio that was kind of my main trio that I did so much touring with over the years. Whenever I kind of put that back together, and we were kind of testing the waters, just playing for, just like really for fun, because it just sounded fun finally to go back and play again. So kind of got everything going, got everything revved up, and then everything shuts down, and you cancel all your dates, and that's all kind of over. But part of what ended up happening for me was I just started thinking about music. Like I just was in the headspace now. It was like, oh no, like it's like getting wound up. You kind of wind up the toy and then set them off. It's like I was going, like I was all right. My headspace was going. I was feeling creative. Obviously, we were doing a lot of sitting around at home, during those long stretches of lockdown, and I just started writing.
Just went all in.
Yeah, I just was writing. I didn't have anything else to do, really, right? So did a bunch of writing, and then I had a really, really good friend, Brazilian bass player named Rafa Lima. He's just a great buddy. I was sort of sharing what I was doing, kind of tentatively, like, yeah, I've been writing, but like, I'm just messing around, just playing. But I really did want to know if he thought any of it was good. And he liked a lot of what he heard. And then essentially, long story short, we started this project that involved all these heavy hitters.
Okay.
And most of it is it's essentially Rafa Lima is best friends with Greco Parado, who's this amazing guitar player, and he's essentially the musical director for Shakira. So
Shakira.
Yeah, right. So, and all those musicians are just sitting at home doing nothing because it's the pandemic, and all those musicians have their studios up. They're like they've because you got to make money somehow. Like everybody's got their home studios up. They're ready. Everybody's sitting around like, give me something to play. So we seized that opportunity and just started to make songs. And it started with the first EP that came out was called the Angel of Oakland EP. That came out first. That then grew into the Rain Parade EP, which then I sort of got signed on that, and then that's out on vinyl, and that's you kind of see the Rain Parade out a lot. Which then is moved into Road of Bones is sort of the next song. It's not on the Rain Parade, but it's sort of the next one that I'd never actually released just a standalone single before. So we're like, man, let's try it.
Go for it. Well, brother, sidebar, Road of Bones.
Yeah.
It's so catchy.
Yeah.
It had, and I don't give a shit what anyone says. I still believe in where those artists have said, like, I am a sellout and I'd like to sell out every arena I'm ever in. Those people are like, I can't believe you.
Yeah.
Stupid.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I believe, for me, I just want to like do good work, and I want to do good like work that I like.
Right.
And if I like it or the people I'm working with like it, that's a great, I'm having a great time. That's the thing about just making stuff. Like people don't, I talk about this a lot when I'm talking about my music, and I'm also, I'm doing a lot of conversations right now because I released a new book on November 7th, my first book.
Now the book is, I wanted to get into that too. So
the
book is,
it's called We Almost Are. It's out on Embers Arts Press, and it's kind of like it's like narrative. It's like very narrative poetry. Really, when you really whittle it down.
I don't know what narrative poetry is.
It's like really short stories.
Okay.
Basically,
I'm a Poe guy, so
yeah, there you go.
I would think Poe is short story poetry.
Yeah. This is like 8 lines a page short. Every page is 8 lines, so it's like a Polaroid picture, like with words on every page.
Interesting.
So, regardless, it's just got me thinking about this a lot because I'm doing so much talking about the book. But for me, 99.9% of your time is like spent in the making, the like making stuff part.
Mhm.
Little tiny percent of the time is like delivering the thing and like here's the thing, or talking about the completed thing or whatever it is. It's like most of your life is the making, like the process of making, like you're just making stuff, like. And so most of our experience is that time, like that time frame. And so if we're going to spend the vast majority of our time just in the making, then like that should be fun. Like,
Absolutely.
and we should in theory program ourselves or kind of be on ourselves to like be aware that like this is really fun. I'm just like not thinking ahead to the goal, not trying to finish, not all the thinking ahead stuff, goal setting stuff, but like literally 99.
Enjoy the moment that you're in and the process that you're in with.
Yeah, like just like make cool stuff. I don't know who's going to hear it. I don't know who's going to read it. I don't know, like, but and sometimes people hear my stuff. Sometimes people don't. Sometimes people like I don't have any control over that. But most of my life, if we're talking about literally like my breathing hours, is like making fun, cool stuff, or like trying to make people laugh or whatever it is right now. And I don't know. I think there's something really important about like positioning ourselves or remembering that like, oh yeah, the thing that I'm doing right now is really fun. And I don't have to worry about when I'm going to finish it or who's going to read it or what, like,
just enjoy the process.
Just make it. Yeah. Like, make it. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I don't know. Like, I don't know. So that becomes a really big key. And Road of Bones was the same. I mean, this whole project, it sort of looks like there's like this EP and there's this EP but it's really all been one long, couple of years process, all the same players, it's all the same great musicians are playing on everything. So it's sort of, for me, it's really just one big long
thing. The sound's amazing. I mean,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And we're getting close to closing the bar up here
yeah.
soon. I mean, Shawn, you and I it's the Shawn and Shawn show.
Yeah, we just talk. We just keep going.
This shit out. But I mean, so as you're going through the process, and there's so many things. And look, folks, if Shawn seems like a fairly approachable guy to myself, I think are you drinking a White Claw? You're not drinking a White Claw, are you?
This wasn't a White Claw.
What is it?
It's the like CBD water.
Okay, we're good then. As long as it wasn't White Claw.
Yeah.
So and Nate beat me to the punch. I was waiting. I was trying to figure out where the hell he was at. He always has to show up. My buddy Nate, who is the worst fantasy football picker in the world. He's, he always picks his first three picks are always kickers. Like he picks 3 kickers in a row in round 1, 2, and 3. I don't know why he does that. In a moment, he's gonna bitch and be like, "I don't fucking do that." But
you gotta have a good kicker. I mean, I get that part.
I get it. They win games. Yeah. But Nate has a question for you before. Let's get this out of the way. This is an important, because I was going to ask you if there was like, where's it at? There it is. See, what did I tell you? What did I tell you, Shawn? So full of crap.
Oh yeah. See, well, you called it.
So, but Nate wants to know: do you have a celebration dish? So, like, you write a song or you finish a show?
Yeah.
Is there like, hey, I've got to go here. I've got to have this. Is there anything like that for you?
No. It's typically it's there's a cigar and whiskey ritual.
Okay. What's your whiskey of choice?
I mean, I'm a big Redbreast guy. The Irish whiskey. Oh,
never had that.
Do you like Irish whiskey?
I do. I'm not a Jameson's kind of guy. I don't mind Tullamore Dew. I did have a Jameson's not long ago. It wasn't barrel. It wasn't barrel strength. It was something cask or something like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad. But I mean,
there you go. Yeah,
I'm a bourbon guy. Bourbon. I really love rye. I would love a rye. Heaven's Hill. Like, have you ever had Heaven's Hill?
No.
Highly recommend this. But go ahead. So a cigar, any particular brand of cigar?
No, I mean the illegal kind.
the illegal.
the
Not the
Cuban
loaded.
variety that were smuggled into the country somehow.
Oh,
Um,
I like Monte Cristos. I'm
oh
a
yeah,
Monte Cristo
I
guy.
mean, it's hard to go wrong. Yeah,
You know, you can't Monte Cristo and a good whiskey or bourbon. I mean, it's a redbreast. I have to see if
yeah.
the
Check
local
it
place
out.
has that.
Yeah, check it out. There now it's old enough where they've got some their established years.
Gotcha.
There's like 12 and there's 15 and there's 21. And the 21 is actually the worst.
Really?
Yeah, I think the 15 is the best, but even the 12 I think is fantastic. They're actually related. It actually was. It was like some of the Jameson crew
Moved over.
well, they were like, well, I'm just gonna do this thing over here. Hopefully no one will notice. Like I'm just gonna make, had an idea. I'm just gonna make this thing over here. So it's like at least originally it was like just like a
Side
indie,
project.
yeah, it was like an indie rock, off the major label, side project.
This was Temple of the Dog.
Yeah, totally Jungle Dog. Yeah, yeah.
No,
And
this is
then,
Temple of the Dog version.
and
Gotcha.
then it's, then it becomes a hit and, sells millions.
I'm down with that. So
Yeah.
for us out here in the Albany region, it's New Scotland Spirits.
Oh yeah. Right on.
This is absolutely empty, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're in the Heidelberg Mountains,
Oh,
and
cool.
all their stuff comes local, and they were actually sued by the country of Scotland because they were New Scotland distillery at first, and they made Scotch, and you can't like Kentucky,
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah.
and they got sued, so they just like, fine, we'll change. Thank you for the publicity, and we'll be New Scotland Spirits,
Yeah.
and we'll make a malt.
Yeah.
And but they make an amazing rye because
No, good to
now
know.
in New York we have Empire Rye. So
Okay.
rye is a New York grain, and they make their own here in New York called an Empire Rye.
Right on.
So that's I can talk about all this shit: food, liquor,
Yeah,
cigars,
yeah.
music. So I mean, Shawn, you've got so much going on. I do want to ask this because we're getting to the end, and I think this is an important question to ask because there's so many people out there that are gonna, that they're gonna grab a hold of this. They're gonna see, okay, so this is how he wrote songs. This is how they're writing songs in Nashville.
Yep.
What are some of the give me like 2, no more than 3, like pitfalls of that world when it comes to that contract and that element that you would tell somebody that was like, I'm going to go be the next big songwriter.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? Like, hey, watch for this, this, and this.
Yeah. I think if you can write, people aren't actually very good at it. Right. So in other words, if you have some ability and you have some interest in it and practice and you're really in the groove, you're a writer, you're constantly in your process and improving. Don't let anybody sort of jump in and interrupt that, because what ends up happening is we're talking about all the formulaic writing and everything that can happen. It's like that. The good songs and the great songs rarely come out of that. That's not real. Like if you go look at the great songs, the hit songs, things like that, even in Nashville, pop music is similar. It's a lot of songwriters kind of pumping out pop music too. The good songs were still the ones that the songwriters were shit-faced on Friday, sitting out the back, totally just messing around and came up with a thing. And luckily somebody could work their phone memo on their iPhone and they captured some of it. And you know what I mean? Like that's still the
real way.
That stuff. So I think there's a lot of noise that gets in the way of just being the unique voice, literally the voice, but also like the lyrical voice, the writer voice that everyone is. And I think for me anyway, the less you're paying attention to and letting that influence whatever you want to do, whatever the stuff you want to make, the better. So,
How about the
another
contract?
way of saying just like do your thing.
Do you, boo?
Yeah, do it.
Now, what about in the contract piece when they start coming to you, and we always see it in the movies. They're like,
Yeah,
"Hey, sign right here. Don't worry about it,
yeah,
son.
yeah,
You'll
yeah,
love everything about it.
yeah,
We'll go
yeah,
ahead and get you the big house. Don't
yeah,
worry about any of that.
yeah.
Any of that you would say, hey,
You
pay
you
attention,
you do nothing without a good lawyer. That's my
get a
advice.
good lawyer.
Yeah, do you do nothing, nothing.
Don't even consider
Nope.
anything they put in front of you.
You
Hey,
don't take a meeting. You don't take a meeting.
oh, don't even take a meeting.
No,
Nothing.
no.
Sound like a man that's been there and done that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trust me, I know.
Well,
Well, you just you know, yeah, you gotta handle your own end, and no one is gonna want to do that for you. In other words, so you kind of have to do your own protecting of your own thing.
yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah, so that's why so many young bands and so many young writers, are renegotiating later after having sold literally millions of copies of their record and they've not made a single dollar yet. That happens all the time, regularly, because they're just, I mean, you hear it over and over again, like, well, they had a bad deal, they got taken advantage of, and like, yes, everyone gets taken advantage of in that business.
Right. That's the
And
nature
that's
of the
just the
business
norm.
if you don't pay attention to what you're doing.
Well, and these days it's even worse, right? Because there's no way to really make money on
I
your
just learned about
your
that.
music, right? Like your music as an entity is basically free now, right? So there's the pie, the way the pie used to get chopped up on a $15.99 CD or whatever. That's a much different financial model
I
than
just
like
learned about that.
free, like which
What
is kind of how it is now. So the deals are even worse now. And you essentially, we were talking earlier about, like, you wrote it, you own it, you're the publishing is the value, right? If you wrote the song or you were a part of writing the song, that's the only valued piece in the whole financial thing. And they're going to come after that because it's the
the money.
only, like, money. Yeah.
Yeah, I just learned that recently from another guest we had who was
Yeah.
like, you have to have something like 30,000 downloads to equal one CD.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It's
I have a
something
song,
crazy.
my song, I've got a song, Angel of Oakland, that I think is the song. If you look up on Spotify, is, I don't know, 400,000, 500,000, I don't know. But I mean,
You've seen $50 off of it.
I don't know, a couple $100 maybe. I don't even know. I don't. My accountant could tell you, but like, certainly it's percentages of a cent.
Oh,
If you're really talking about like listens on Spotify or on digital or whatever, it's literally percentages of a penny.
that's insane to me.
Yeah, it's wild.
That
So don't give that away, writers. Hang on to your publishing.
So it sounds to me like, really, from that standpoint,
Yeah.
being a writer,
Yeah.
it has more value than and look, I got it. The biggest names out there, they're making crazy money, but
Sure.
being that writer carries a different value than we really understand.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, and the biggest artists out there, for the most part, not coincidence, are also songwriters.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they're controlling their own destiny.
Yeah.
Look, folks, I mean, check out ShawnBrownMusic.com, and it's spelled the proper way, SHAWN. If you're a Shawn, that makes perfect sense to you. We're Shawan, not seen. Make sure you're checking him out, ShawnBrownMusic.com. Download his song about an extra million times for him. He will appreciate that in every bit. I say this every week. If you're finding me through Shawn or Shawn through Shawn or Shawn through Shawn, look at that. That makes life easier for me. Make sure you're taking a moment. You give us each a 5-star rating, whatever we're on. If this, go on to Apple, go on to Spotify, follow his music, follow my podcast. It may sound cliche, but listen to me, folks. That's how we get known. That's how these algorithms work. That's how this process goes. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, social media wise, I'm on everything. So make sure you're giving that, if you're one of my guests, we're one of the people that have watched and gave us hearts and stars, You have no idea how much it means to me to take that moment, how much it means to the other Shawn that's on here, to take that moment and to listen to our stuff and give that rating. It truly, truly matters to each of us. Now, Shawn, before I let you go, and don't log off right after, we got to talk for just a minute.
Yeah.
And I know, like, and Nate could tell me how many this is up to. It's like 209 or 210. I get confused. And I know you've binge watched all the episodes, listened to them for months on end so that you could be fully prepared for this moment coming up. Yep. So we always ask the guests to give the final word. So, Shawn, what is the final word?
Make stuff.
All righty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.